And what's interesting, Sean, is I still have these bone fragments in my knee. That was 10 years ago. And to have something that impactful is truly amazing. And so when I look at biologics as a piece of your health and your health care, what you're trying to do with your body, I think biologics should absolutely be something people look at.
All right, guys, finally got David on the pod here. We're going to talk stem cells and health, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got quite a story yourself.
It's been a journey. It has been.
When did it all start for you, your health journey?
With health, I grew up in a family of medicine, and my whole family was very Western medicine. And my brother's an MD, my parents, everyone is in medicine. And my father worked for several of the pharmaceutical companies, Warner Lambert, Parker Davis, many of the older companies that are now been purchased by others. And I used to joke that I've moved more drugs than most people because the UPS truck, now remember this is the 80s, Sean, yeah. So UPS truck would come with the whole truck full of drugs, all different types of drugs, and I'd help unload those. And my dad would distribute and rep those. And so I grew up with this real Western understanding mindset of medicine, how to do things the Western way. And it was interesting when I was 19, I went and moved to Thailand, and I started to understand a difference in how you can approach health and wellness, and how you can see the body as a full system, not just ear, nose, and throat or eyes or something. It's a full system working together. And so I started to learn about that when I was in Asia. And then it was about 20 years ago in Peru. I was with, we were doing humanitarian work. At the time I had a big book company, and we were setting up schools in Peru for a library, excuse me. And there were two gentlemen, and both of these gentlemen were 70 years old, Sean. And one of them didn't even want to get out of the bus to go see the ruins, to go see the sights. It could barely move, moving slowly. And the other guy, he was, walking, happy, leading the pack. And they were both 70. And it was interesting because at this point, I was young at the time, like 22, 23 or something. And I remember seeing both of these individuals and thinking, okay, what's the difference here? Why is this one almost dying? And why is this one like thriving and leading the pack? And I'm young, and we're in Cusco, which is a very high elevation in Peru. And he's seriously leading everyone at 70 years old. So I remember thinking, okay, there's something that you do on a daily basis or a weekly, monthly, a routine, something that causes this dichotomy. Like, why is this person dying and why is this person thriving? So that was a big kind of turning point in my mind of like, what you do on a daily basis makes a big difference. And so I've been an entrepreneur basically my whole life, Sean, and I started to really dive into health and wellness and trying to understand, okay, what does it mean to be healthy? And how does that really work with the whole system of the body? And so I've had some very interesting experiences worldwide going down that path. And I dove into supplements, and I've sold a lot of supplements all over the world. I've had offices, several continents and countries. And I've been able to meet with doctors, practitioners, and see what are they doing, what works, what doesn't work, and how are they utilizing both natural medicines and pharmaceutical medicines and surgeries and things like that, and what is it? What's the ultimate outcome that they're getting?
Right.
So I think people, they really overcomplicate health, and they try and make it very difficult. And there's so many supplements being sold, so many products being pushed, diets saying, oh, do this diet, do that diet, fast, cold plunge, sauna, red light. All these different things. And it's very difficult as a consumer, someone that's not into the data and into the science, to know which one is right for me. Right. And
Shout out to today's sponsor, Notion. Are you spending more time managing your emails than actually running your business? Or worse, have you missed something important because it got lost in the chaos of your inbox? Email hasn't evolved in decades and it shows, but now Notion Mail is changing the game. It's the inbox that links you so you can spend more time building, not emailing. Notion Mail uses AI that learns what matters to you. It can organize your inbox, label messages, draft replies, and even schedule meetings. No manual sorting is needed. If you need to stay focused, you could customize your inbox view by topic, urgency, or sender, whatever keeps you on track. You could fly through repetitive replies with one-click snippets like intros, follow-ups, or thank you notes, even with attachments and scheduling links. Already a Notion user, Notion Mail integrates directly with your docs using them for context, so everything works together in one place. Get Notion Mail for free right now at notion.com/DSH. That's all lowercase, notion.com/DSH. Again, that's notion.com/DSH. Try the inbox that thinks like you.
so I've tried to understand as much as I can. And what it comes down to, though, it's very simple. I mean, you have to focus on the three things. You need to focus on sleep, nutrition, and exercise. And if you focus on sleep, nutrition, exercise, and you're really honed in on those things, and you understand what you need to do to improve those things, then you say, okay, what supplements, what peptides, what routines can I improve and change? And as you do that, then you can really hone in your health and wellness.
Yeah, so focus on those three before getting into stem cells and everything.
Right. So when you look at like stem cells, peptides, or any type of biologic, it's an addition to what you're already doing. So stem cells, exosomes, peptides, any type of additional therapy, that should be in addition to what you're already doing. So it's a supplement to good health, which includes nutrition, sleep, and exercise. And I see all the time people want to, you see it in peptides a lot right now, Sean. You have people that want to just take a peptide and not have to exercise.
Yeah, TRT.
Yeah, TRT is an example. BPC 157, MK 677. There's a lot of different ones. And they do help as a supplement, but you still need the fundamental exercise. You need to be exercising, right? If you're not exercising, then you're missing out on one of the three pillars, right?
So you don't like the Dave Asprey approach?
Well, I don't know what I don't know what
he doesn't exercise.
He doesn't exercise at all.
No.
Well, I would say it'd be interesting to look at all of his mile markers or his blood markers and see where it is. And you have to understand everyone's everyone's a little bit different. So like if you and I don't exercise, it might affect us differently than someone else. And so you have to make sure that you're looking at yourself individually and saying, okay, that might work for this person, but it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Because like people try to copy Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
But the dude's just it's his own body. Like he can handle that many supplements.
Right.
Some people can't.
Yeah. And so his liver might be better at processing so many things. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's on a lot of supplements.
And it's difficult too, because you have people like that are talking about certain things. I know he's talked a lot about his nighttime erections and things like that, but he's also on Cialis. And
really?
Yeah. And so he's talked about that.
I didn't know that.
But when you have to look at the data and say, okay, well, what's really happening? And I appreciate that he's actually out there pushing this idea of longevity. And it's important that we have that in our mind of how do we improve where we are. And so I appreciate that. I mean, Dave Asprey, I think he's done a great job of helping people understand about like why you need to focus on health and certain things that can influence your body. But it's also hard when you have so many of these people that are selling something and knowing, okay, is that really the best thing or are they doing it to sell something?
And you got to witness that firsthand, right?
Yeah.
That, I guess, mission versus money tension.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in business, through my career, Sean, I've unfortunately learned that most people will do what they can for money, not what's right. And that's a sad thing because people have taken advantage of me and others for money. And I think that's unfortunate, actually, is that people will do what they can for money, not maybe what's the best thing for the mission or for the world, really.
I mean, that's why big pharma is what it is.
Yeah.
It's for money.
Yeah.
You know, they put that before health, unfortunately.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that they didn't used to be that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Not in my lifetime, not in yours, I don't think either.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't picture that, honestly.
Well, I don't think it's like with doctors. I feel like most doctors want to become a doctor because they do really want to help people.
Yeah.
But then they're put into a system that trains them a certain way. And when you're in that system, it's hard to move out of that without causing problems.
100%.
Now, I feel like, at least here in the US, there's starting to be some very good things happening. Legislation's changing. Lots of very cool things are happening that way. But it's difficult, and it takes a very strong person to say, I'm going to do something because it's right, not because it makes money.
You had a massive injury at age 34, right? That's how you got into stem cells.
Yeah. So, I mean, my stem cell journey is interesting. So I have what's called Osgood-Schlatter's, which is basically under your knee, in your ligaments, you have some bone that comes out, and it basically becomes part of the ligament. So you have little bone islands in your knee, underneath your kneecap. And so if you look at my knee now, I still have those. And if you did an MRI, you'd see that I have bone fragments underneath in the ligaments. And mine started to swell up, and it would hurt anytime I walked upstairs. I couldn't really run. Anytime I played basketball, things like that, it would be sore afterwards. And so I went to 2 different orthopedic specialists, and I asked them, I said, what do I do? And how can I deal with this? And both of them independently, Sean, they both said, hey, we'll do the surgery. We cut open your knee, rip out the bones, then we sew it back up, and you'll be fine. And I said, okay, what does that mean you'll be fine? And they said, well, you're on crutches for 8 to 9 months, and then you should be okay.
Jeez.
Now, this surgery, so I went and researched this. I like to look at the data, and I look at the research, and there's only 50% success rate. 50%. So they're saying, look, do the surgery. It's $40,000 to $50,000. I'm on crutches for 8 to 9 months. And then there's only 50% chance of success.
Wow.
So I didn't feel comfortable with that. And I went and talked to another doctor friend of mine, and he said, David, you should do stem cells. I said, well, what does that mean? What are stem cells? And he explained to me, and he said, well, they're the best stem cells are from umbilical cord and placenta tissue. They're a neutral cell, and they go into the body and go to where your body needs it. He says, we can inject it right in your knee, and there's a good chance that it will help with inflammation. And he was very clear too. He said, I'm not sure if it's going to work. And that gave me some assurance, actually, because he was very clear. He said, look, I'm not positive this is going to work, but if it doesn't help your knee, it'll go somewhere else in your body where it needs it. I said, okay, what does that take? And it was like 15-minute procedure, 2 simple injections, and then a few weeks later. So I went and got the procedure done. It was, I think it cost like $5,000, and he did the injection, no problem. And then I left and had 0 improvement for 3 weeks. 0. I mean, it actually probably hurt even more. And then week 4, Sean, I woke up and all the pain was gone.
Wow.
It was like instant. And I was blown away. I said, okay, well, that's amazing. Now, I've done a lot of supplements. I can formulate, I can look at any supplement in the back and tell you if you should eat it or take it or whatever. And sourcing is really important to me. So for me, it was, I'd never seen anything, Sean, that can really effectuate change as quickly as I received.
Yeah, that's super fast.
Yeah. And what's interesting, Sean, is I still have these bone fragments in my knee. That was 10 years ago. Okay. 10 years ago. And to have something that impactful is truly amazing. And so when I look at biologics as a piece of your health, and your health care, your what you're trying to do with your body, I think biologics should absolutely be something people look at. They should not be afraid to ask questions. Unfortunately, most doctors, nurses, PAs, DOs, they don't do a lot of study or training on stem cells, exosomes, any biologics. And so there's this real lack of understanding about what they do, what they can do. And with George W. Bush, he put legislation in place here in the US that basically halted a lot of the stem cell research happening in the US. So unfortunately, much of the good stem cell research that's happening it's very difficult to do here in the US. And the FDA has tried to shut down a lot of that. And in the other countries, so Europe, Eastern Europe, Asia, Southeast Asia, China has actually done a lot of really good research on stem cells. In fact, there was just someone recently that was cured completely from type 1 diabetes.
From stem cells?
From stem cells.
Jeez.
A direct injection right into the pancreas. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have type 1 diabetes. You're not supposed to heal from this.
I've never heard of that for type 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. So I think there's this mindset that needs to change. There does need to be legislation because it's a biologic. You're injecting something in your body. You need to have that legislation. And I'd like to see some of the rules in the US change and have that kind of openness about stem cells and what can and can't be done and where they need to come from and all of that. But it's really, in my opinion, a gift from God that we all start as stem cells, Sean, in the womb. And when a baby is born, you're left with the umbilical cord and placenta. And if you can extract the stem cells and the exosomes, and you can actually use those to help continue life or improve life, how amazing is that?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I wonder what the hospital does with the umbilical cord.
Oh, they throw them away.
What?
Yeah.
That's such a waste.
Yeah, they're all thrown away.
That's worth a lot of, value.
Well, you can help people with it. And I think if more women knew that they could donate their umbilical cord and placenta tissue, it would be very beneficial for I think most of them would.
That should be an option, man.
I agree.
The placenta too, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So they just toss that out?
Yeah, it's thrown away.
That's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could be used to save lives right there.
Yeah. But that's where I think if we had more active, proactive legislation and governance and information for women too. Most of these women, you have a healthy young woman who is giving birth, and that placenta and umbilical cord could be used to help someone that has, let's say, diabetes or ALS or something that is potentially very damaging for them. I mean, most people would say, yeah, I want to do that because it's not taking anything from them. And it's definitely something that I think people would like to do.
Yeah. I hope the US starts accepting it more, because right now you got to fly out the country to get some powerful stem cells, right?
Well, that's what most people think. And you actually don't. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clinics here in the US that do it as well and offer extremely good quality stem cells and exosomes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think that the thought is that it's only in Europe or Latin America or Asia.
Mexico, I've heard too.
Yeah, Mexico. I've been to some very nice clinics. But you know what's interesting is I asked 3 different clinics in Mexico, Panama, and Costa Rica. And I said, okay, where's your stem cells from? And they couldn't answer me. They couldn't tell me. And so as a sourcing, you need to know where your product's from. I mean, when you look at what you're putting in your body, you need to know, do you have a healthy young woman? Is this a donated umbilical cord placenta? Where is that coming from? Because quality matters. And when you're looking at quality of birth too, you want to make sure your umbilical and placental tissue is from a healthy birth. a woman that doesn't have any diseases, the child was born correctly. I mean, everything, you want to make sure that all those key things are met. No smoking, no alcohol, no tattoos, no vaping, no genetic diseases or biomarkers.
Wow. So even tattoos affect the stem cells?
Well, potentially, yeah. And so the best companies always will even check for tattoos.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
and no COVID vaccine.
Really?
Yeah.
That one doesn't surprise me.
Right. Well,
I mean, I don't want to get the video deleted, but we both know what's going on there.
Yeah. So for me, it's been a lifelong journey, and I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and I've traveled all over the world. I've been very fortunate to meet with people all over and see the beauty of these other cultures and learn some of their languages. And what I've learned is that people all over the world, they really want the same things. We all want to be healthy and happy. We all want to be loved. And when I look at health, I think of health as a way for us to all communicate and talk the same language. Everyone wants to be healthy. Everyone wants to be happy. And everyone wants to be loved. And so you say, okay, well, if stem cells can help in that health journey, great. If exosomes can help in that health journey, great. But we need to step back and say, where are the problems? And be willing to ask some of those questions. Too many people, I believe, Sean, are afraid to ask questions.
I agree.
They don't want to know. They don't want to know the answer because it's nice to be in this state of ignorance.
Yeah.
And realizing that the food that you're giving your child may not be healthy. Some people don't want to know that because that food that you're giving them is so convenient.
Convenient, affordable, easy.
Well, you look at right now in the U.S., we have a big issue with corn, ethanol, high fructose corn syrup, all being used all over.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, why is that happening? And when you research into it, you find out that the U.S. government is basically paying subsidies to farmers, and they are paying for corn to be produced so they can use it for ethanol production. That's now turned into a whole other industry that has said, okay, well, how can we're getting corn basically for free, so let's use corn in everything. And so the trickle down effect has, I mean, that's why we have high fructose corn syrup. I mean, even the soda has corn syrup, not sugar anymore, because corn syrup's cheaper. The problem with most of the corn, and this goes to seed oils as well, is that it's not necessarily that corn is bad or that sunflower is bad, but they're all GMO. And so when you have GMO crops, you have spraying of pesticides and herbicides. And so it's not even, I don't even know that it's that seed oils are so bad, Sean. It's that the pesticides and the herbicides that are being put on the seed oils and then extracted are causing
Right, that's
issues.
the issue. It's like eating non-organic fruit. The fruit isn't the problem.
Right.
It's the pesticide and herbicide, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Aren't they trying to ban the high fructose corn syrup?
I mean, I think some states are trying to change the legislation, and I think the FDA is doing some good things with that. But it's difficult when you have it so ingrained and you have manufacturing processes, you have big companies that are using that as a main ingredient.
Right.
And so, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and it's interesting. If I go look at the back of foods that I ate growing up, they're different than they were when I was growing up.
I could see that.
They have
way less.
Way more ingredients now and way more processed, more sugar, not even using sugar, using high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
So a lot of pesticides, herbicides, and you have to look and say, okay, well, we're supposedly smarter now, but how come cancer rates have gone up? How come heart disease has gone up? How come all these things are still happening and happening at a higher increased rates? Why is that happening? And so we have to step back and ask those questions. And I don't think a lot of people want to ask those questions because they've built a identity or built a career off of some of these things happening the way they are.
Yeah. Well, the number of diseases going up is alarming.
Yeah.
It's really scary. But yeah, I remember seeing a graphic about Wonder Bread.
Mm-hmm.
There was 5 ingredients.
Yeah. Back in the day.
Back in the day. Now there's like 50.
Yeah.
Bread.
Well, ice cream. I mean, okay, so I went to go get some ice cream and I looked at every brand. I could not find one brand without guar gum or sorbate, potassium sorbate, or what was the other? Carrageenan. So potassium sorbate is a stops bacteria growth, preservative, and guar gum and carrageenan are used to thicken. Well, they now have data showing that those can potentially cause problems for our gut.
Wow.
So I can't even get ice cream. Now, ice cream should be 3 or 4 ingredients. It should be, cream, sugar, maybe vanilla and eggs. And that's basically it. So there shouldn't be anything else, but they've now added all these other things to make it thicker, make it different things. And so that's the trouble for consumers in the US. And that's why you hear of, I think, people going to Europe, eating pizza and whatever and being fine.
Yeah.
And then coming to the USA and then having problems.
Well, everything's enriched and fortified here for the grains.
Yeah. Well, and most of the grains, again, are GMO, which means most of them have pesticides and herbicides.
Yeah.
So whenever you eat those, you're actually ingesting pesticides and herbicides.
That's crazy. When you're eating bread, you don't even think about connecting those dots, but.
No, and it looks good. It smells good. You walk past a pizza place, it'll smell great, but you may not feel great afterwards.
You gotta, these days, almost ask what they're using in their restaurant, you know?
Well, and I hope there's a proliferation now of people eating out. More people eat out than cook at home. And I'm hoping that changes and people start cooking at home again, because, and also like just for families, they've shown that eating with others is very beneficial for your own mental health and everything as well. So there's some benefit there.
Absolutely.
And you and I we go make a meal. We're together for 30 minutes prepping that meal, and then we sit down and eat it. That's a lot more bonding than just going to a restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely.
It will probably taste better too.
Probably. Most restaurants are hit or miss these days.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. You got a book you're working on, Baselif?
So I actually have 2 books that I'm working on. One's called Baselif, which is about daily things and daily actions you can do to lift your base. So it's things that you can do on a daily basis. And then my other book is called Beyond Repair. I hope to launch it this year. That Beyond Repair is about stem cell solution to healing and longevity, and want to try and get that idea out so people start seeing stem cells as something they should be utilizing actively, not as a last resort.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's cool, man. We'll link those below if they're out when this drops.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And then when you look at overall, like Peru and some of these experiences that I've had some really cool experiences with shaman, with plant medicines. And I think there's some issues that people have right now. There's this mindset, Sean, of let's go get weed, let's get high. Yeah, let's go do mushrooms. Let's go just like almost like cursory, go do it to have fun. And that's not what their real intention is. Plant medicine is here to help us heal. And when we do it to help us heal, we actually can experience some amazing things. But when they're taken over and over, you actually can have negative side effects as well. So MJ or CBD and THC, any cannabis plant, cannabis is actually is a great cleanser of soil. And so you can use it intermittently with your crops. So you could do like corn, and then you do cannabis, hemp or something, and then you could do your corn again. And the hemp in between will clean the soil.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But the problem with that, so think of it, so people are, I was just in Bangkok, and every single street, every corner, there's a THC dispensary, right? And the problem with taking cannabis regularly is that when you ingest it, you're getting microtoxins every time, heavy metals, because it is extracting from the soil and cleaning that soil. And so the problem that we have right now in the society is that people are taking these plant medicines as a recreational substance, and they're actually a medicine. They should be used to help with something, and then you stop. And that's the problem, that they're getting toxicity from some of these plant medicines.
I didn't know that about cannabis. Wow.
Yeah, it's a big one. Mushrooms,
I could
same
see it
thing.
though, because whenever
ayahuasca, same thing.
Yeah, I could see that, because whenever I smoke, I start either sneezing or coughing, and I feel like that I can't be from the actual cannabis. It has to be something else.
No, it's from the heavy metal. And so it's hard because some of these are pretty addictive, and you feel good briefly, but they can have long-term effects. And some of the clinics that we've worked with will show, they can do scans and show exactly, hey, this person is taking cannabis regularly.
Really?
They have heavy metal.
They could tell from just
just from the heavy metals alone.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So people need to realize that these are sacred medicines. These are plant medicines, and they should be used as a medicine and not every day. They're not everyday substances. A lot of supplements, the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
What about like vitamin D and like?
Yeah. So some of them you got to, okay. So I think if you look at the body as trying to find harmony within the system, okay. And energetically, it's like, think of the yin yang. Okay. So you have the male and the female, and it's moving together. Now, all of our systems are actually that way. So if you look at the heart, our heart is a full system, and it's actually a yin yang system. It's a male female system, in, out, in, out. And we need to have harmony in our systems. So whenever you take a supplement, you are adding to one side. Now, maybe you're deficient in that, and that's okay, but you need to make sure that you're staying in balance. And so I think it's important that you are making sure you're seeing those systems as in harmony and making sure that you're not overly taking one thing that might be affecting something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So some of them are a little bit difficult to look at and say, okay, well, vitamin D, well, if I do vitamin D, I get this. Is there anything that's causing to be out of balance? And we have to look at those, each individual person. But I mean, when we look at energetic healing, and that's a whole nother topic, Sean, I don't know if we have time to talk about that, but see, science wants you to think that everything's like a negative and positive, right? When we go to electrons, protons, things like that. But the reality is it's actually not negative, positive. It's actually male, female. So everything in your body, everything in my body is male, female. And it's the yin and yang, the harmony in the systems. And I think people are starting to understand this, especially those that do anything with sound or vibration, any frequencies. They're starting to understand. But every frequency is either a male or a female frequency, or a neutral frequency. Okay, so there's, and I can get into this. Do you want to go deep into this?
Yeah.
Okay, because we can go a little deeper. But basically, each system is what's called Wu Ji. And then the center, or the neutral, is called Quora. And then you have the male and the female side. So this works. So think of it like in a car, okay? So the car itself would be the Wu Ji. It's the mechanism, it's moving, okay? The steering wheel is the neutral. It can go right or left, okay? So it can go male or female, right or left. That's kind of how our bodies are as well. And so in nature, this manifests itself all the time as well. So the lights, the frequency, the sounds, they all have different interactions within the system that they're playing in. And the far extremes, what we learn, so like a hurricane, which is a female frequency, or a volcano, which is a male frequency. Whenever you have extremes in anything cause death and destruction. So you need to look at your body as a harmonic system. How can we get it in harmony? This is why people that are too masculine or too feminine have issues. you need to integrate everything so you can have this harmonious system. And where I think people, what they don't realize is it's not like this teeter-totter equal weights. Okay, you can have different weights on things. You and I are more masculine than feminine.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. But our fulcrum, the middle point, is different. So it's actually weighted perfectly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so you have to find out and realize what's the fulcrum points, the neutral points that you can add to your system. So things like stem cells. Stem cells are neutral. They enhance either the male or the female within that system that they need.
That is interesting.
So it's, and we can go into, I mean, even like this is working off of frequencies, trying to prevent certain frequencies from entering our bodies. And that's a type of system or a type of device that's trying to prevent certain frequencies from coming into us. Because both male and female, it's not that male or female are bad or good. There's not a good or bad. They're just there.
You need both.
You need both. And you need to have a harmony. So when I say we have to focus on sleep, nutrition, and exercise, those are the first three things we focus on. And we say, how do we have harmony in our sleep? How do we have harmony in our nutrition? How do we have harmony in our exercise? And then we work around that and figure out. So for women, it's extremely important that they're tracking their cycles. They know when they should be doing certain exercises, when they should be eating, when they should be taking a relaxed time. And if they do that, then they can have more harmony in their life and they can work with their hormones in conjunction with their hormones. Men's cycle is different. Men have a 24-hour cycle, very different than women. And so men the same thing. Men need to figure out, okay, when am I on? When am I off? When should I not have meetings? When should I?
Is it different for every guy? Like, is there a best time of day to work out?
Yeah, everyone's got a little bit different. I mean, there's generalities and they have some data, but everyone is a little bit different. You have to find out, hey, do I work better in afternoon or evening or morning, or when's the best for me? And so everyone is a little bit different. And that's where I think in society it can be difficult because we're stuck in this, 9 to 5. This is when you work. This is when you do things. And for some people, they like to work at night.
Some people like to work at 2 a.m.
Yeah. And so you have to figure out what's right for you. And then you adapt it so you can work with the world and everything. But if we look at our bodies in terms of a system that we're trying to optimize and harmonize, then I think we'll be a lot better in our.
I love that approach. David, anything else you want to close off with, man? That was really interesting stuff.
No, I think it's pretty good. Let's change the world.
Yeah, let's do it, man. We'll link your website below and your books when they're out.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you.
Yep. Check them out, guys. See you next time.
Thank you.